So, as I have said, today's we are going to discuss about the theory of multiple aspects, which is known as Anekantavad, the doctrine of multiplicity of truth. We have already understood all the substances, that each substance has so many qualities. It is said that each substance is having infinite number of qualities and infinite number of modes. And obviously, if we want to understand such a substance, then we have to see all the aspects, all the qualities together, then only we can understand what the substance is. So, and this is the reason why Anekantavad is proposed, that if we are trying to understand reality as a whole, taking all its aspects and characteristics together, then we need to apply such non-absolutistic, or you can say holistic vision to understand such reality. Some are referred at one time and some are not. So it is true that there are certain qualities which we understand at a time, but it is not necessary that we can take all the aspects, all the qualities together in one vision or just in one time. It may be that we are focusing on some of the aspects at a time and some other aspects at another time. So it is our limitation, but so far as the reality is concerned, it is having all the qualities and all the aspects together, and that's why we need to understand it through this particular doctrine, which is known as multiplicity of truth. Here the example is given that one person can be father, one person, and the same person can be son for someone. He can be brother, husband. Similarly, one daughter can be daughter in herself, but she can also be a mother of some children, or she can also be a sister or wife, etc. So one person can play many roles in one lifetime, and that's why we see that it is not just one-sided or it is having just one type of quality, but there are multiple qualities we find even in one single person. There is no contradiction in these different statements also. When we say that one daughter, someone who is daughter is also mother, so there is no contradiction. When we look at her children, then we say that she is mother, and when we look at her mother, then we can say that she is a daughter. So this kind of multiple aspects which may be contradictory to each other, but they are not really contradictory, since they are being perceived from different other angles. Philosophy of multiple aspects is a method of thinking and analyzing any object or any reality. It does not accept an incomplete or partial view and avoids conflict between different views. Since reality in itself is having so many aspects and different dimensions, or you can say different modes, so it is not necessary for everyone to see from one angle or just to see one and the same aspect. They may focus on different aspects, and that's why they can come out with the different conclusions or what we say visions. This kind of thinking promotes open-mindedness, clarity, and impartiality. And the interrelationship between different modes of the same substance is basic to Jain philosophy. So it doesn't. If we are having different opinions or different views regarding one and the same objects, and if they are true, then they may be contradictory to each other. They may look like contradictory, but there is no such kind of contradiction as such. If we see all those aspects or all those qualities from different angles or from the perspectives of different people, then we would have a more bigger picture of the reality, and it will open the floor for us to think reality from different other angles too. So it is a kind of open-mindedness, and also it gives more clarity and also impartiality. A system therefore has a unique characteristic. It cannot be solely determined by the individual characteristics of its parts. So it is very important to understand that Anekant is saying that though reality is having infinite number of attributes and modes, but if we think that by studying one attributes or separate individual attributes, we can understand reality as such. So that is not the truth. Reality is not only the sum up of the different parts, but it is something more or transcendental. So that's why we must have the opinion or any kind of view regarding the different aspects of reality, but those views must be correlated with each other or relative to each other and not absolute in themselves. Modern science has proceeded on a different kind of assumptions of what we say reality, and it is especially started from the time of Descartes, who is a Greek philosopher of 15th century, and the method which has been said is the scientific method, and according to this method, that there are two types of assumptions have been accepted in this particular system. A system could be broken down into its individual components, so that each component could be analyzed as an independent entity, and the components could be added in a linear fashion to describe the totality of the system. So this is, according to this scientific method, we can study one by one all different aspects of reality, and thereby we can understand the total reality. So this is Jainism is not with this particular opinion that the reality is not only the sum up of different aspects, but it is something more and more transcendental. Biologist von Lenfi in 1928 proposed that both assumptions were wrong. On the contrary, in the general system theory proposed by him, a system is characterized by the interactions of its components and the non-linearity of those interactions. The whole is more than the sum of its parts. This is in accordance with the Jain approach. So we have this is the biologist von Lenfi. What is he is saying under his general system of theory is very close to the Jain approach of Anekant. Philosophy of multiple aspects can be seen easily in conduct of human groups. Life is such that it fails to express itself in partial reason. So we can see that in our day-to-day life also, we are living in a family. If father is doing something, and if we try to understand his contribution to family, then we have to see him in the light of all other members of family. If we try to understand him in separate sense or as an individual, then we cannot understand his proper role which he is playing in his family as a father. So it is required that whenever we are doing a study of any part of reality, we should see that reality in the light of other aspects or totality. Universe is complex and comprises infinite realities. Simultaneous view of totality is highly impossible for intellect. It is always a partial or relative view with reference to beliefs, prejudices, mood, and purpose of the speaker. So it is true that the common man cannot understand all the aspects of reality together. He can take one or two aspects at a time and can try to understand, and thereby he can try to imagine what reality is. And his view is always partial or relative and not represents the total reality in itself. So, and his view may also be dependent on his own belief systems, or he might have preconditioning regarding any object and he perceives the object from that angle, or it also depends on his mood and purpose. So all these factors also play a crucial role whenever we are perceiving any object and trying to understand it. Now modern science, there is another doctrine which is called Nayavad in Jainism. Especially it is to overcome the problem of different opinions and their limitations. So here in under Nayavad it is said that the truth is multiple, and it has so many aspects. You cannot understand all the aspects together, but it is not necessary that you should take all the aspects together. You can also perceive from one angle or from one perspective, and can just see one aspect of reality and can understand it in your way. But it doesn't mean that whatever you are understanding from one side, one angle or from one perspective, it should also be seen in relative sense and not in absolute sense. Then only it can be true. If you are taking that individual view in absolute sense, then it may also be false or untrue or wrong. So this is what Nayavad emphasizes, that we have to take each individual view or each aspect of reality in relative sense and not in absolute sense. Then only we can do justice with the reality. So this is the way we can see reality, and the common man uses this standpoint, especially one-sided view, to look at any reality. According to the Jain doctrine, the knowledge gained through from sensuous consciousness is a partial and not complete knowledge of substance. So we know that our senses have limitations. They cannot see the reality in totality. They can see only the one aspect or the aspect which is manifested or just in present time available, but it is not available if the senses are not able to see all other aspects which are hidden or maybe plausible and not present at this particular given moment. So we should understand that our knowledge is always partial and relative or incomplete. It is not complete in itself. That partial knowledge becomes the subject of controversy. 5 individuals gain knowledge about 5 different aspects of any one substance, and each of them believes his knowledge to be perfect and true, and that of the others to be untrue. So since we have limited knowledge and partial knowledge, and also we are looking at the object from different angles and perspectives, so it is necessary that we might have some controversy in our opinions regarding the same object. So we have to understand, since this kind of situation may arise, but reality has all different aspects and it can be perceived from different angles. So the other people who are perceiving it from his own angle or from different angle, then we have to understand from which angle he is perceiving the object and try to resolve the controversy which is arising due to different opinions. Now we can see there is one example which is given especially in our philosophical text, and it is also given in Buddhist textbook and some Hindu text, but maybe it is originally from Jain text. So there are 7 blind persons and they try to see the elephant. 4 say elephant is like a pillar, 5th says it is like a broomstick, 6th says it is like a winnowing pan, and 7th says it is a wall. Each one is correct partially. So they all are talking about the different aspects of elephant, and they are true in themselves, but all are having partial or relative view or incomplete view regarding the elephant. No one is talking about the elephant as such. They are just talking about the parts. So the sum up of the parts is not the elephant. It is more than that. So just we have to understand that these different opinions when we have regarding one and the same object, they are partial views and not complete views in themselves. In Jain philosophy, an effort has been made to change this approach and understand truth through right reason. This is called Naivad. So when we try to understand each of the different opinions in relative sense and in the light of the total object, then it can be said as a right reason or right view. Otherwise, sometimes we don't see actually reality, the aspect into sometimes we misguide because of a defect in our eyes or in our senses. We don't understand the aspect, the single aspect even in proper sense. So that kind of a view is totally wrong. But if we are insisting that my view is only the right view, then also it is a wrong. Instead of being correct, it is wrong because the one aspect doesn't explain the total reality, and that aspect is also dependent on other aspects. So if we want to understand one aspect, we have to look at all other different aspects and its relation with other aspects. So non-absolutistic or particular standpoint cognizes a single attribute of an object possessed of infinite attributes, a viewpoint expressing the intention of the speaker, which takes cognizance of a particular aspect of the object apprehend through valid organ of knowledge, and which does not repudiate the other aspects of that reality. So here we can see that we are not talking about some personal views. We are talking about the personal view which is based on some reality or some aspect of reality which has been approved by the holistic knowledge, or you can say the authentic knowledge. And we are taking just one aspect into consideration, but we are not denying other aspects. Then only we can be true in our reason or in our view or in our expression according to this doctrine of Nai. Nai is a point of view, a vision, and a way of thinking. So we should understand that each view has its own limitation. It is just a view, an opinion, but it is not covering the whole total reality. Jain Acharyas have described two separate areas for the thought. It means there are different angles to understand reality in totality. So there are minimum two such kind of standpoints. The first is the substantial point of view, and the other one is the modal point of view. From substantial point of view, we try to understand what the ultimate substance, what is the permanent nature of the substance. So we try to understand the permanence of the particular object and not the various changes which are taking place in different times in the same substance. So far as the various changes are concerned, we use the modal point of view to understand them and try to understand that which mode is existing in this particular given moment, and there may be thousands and infinite number of such modes in different times. So what we are perceiving, we are just perceiving one mode or one attribute or one aspect, and not all the different aspects or modes. So this is the modal point of view. It takes all different aspects or modes which are taking place in different times into consideration and try to understand the reality from the modal point of view. Both points of views are relative. Nowhere is persistence completely independent of change and vice versa. Yet in order to get a holistic understanding of existence, this arrangement was deemed fit. So you can see that though both the angles, both the views are partial relative to each other, and though they are not sufficient to understand the total reality, but somehow if we want to understand reality in totality, then these two angles at least should be applied to understand reality as such. But they are in themselves also relative views, and you can say partial views. When they become relative to each other, it means when we are trying to understand the substance, we are not overlooking the attributes, and when we are trying to understand the attributes, we are not overlooking the substance. We are trying to understand all these two different aspects in the light of each other. Then it can be said that this kind of approach can help us to understand reality as such. The substantial point of view analyzes persistence of oneness, but does not completely rule out change, as every viewpoint has its own limitations. It does not believe in polemics of the subject matter. So as I have already said, that they are not ignoring other aspects. When we are focusing on one aspect, we are not ignoring other aspects of reality or its totality. So this is the Nai, the approach of the Nai. This approach is used to avoid any kind of conflicts or contradictions, or you can say polemics regarding one and the same object. Relativity means that there is nothing absolute. One Nai only analyzes a portion of the whole, so naturally the remaining portion too remains allied to it. This perception clarifies the theory of relativity. So sometimes this Anekantavad or Shadvad or Naivad, they are also taken in the sense of relativity. So here relativity doesn't mean the relativity of Einstein, as he has also proposed the theory of relativity, special theory of relativity and general theory of relativity, but that is a little bit different in the sense that he's talking that if we want to understand distance, then we have to see the time, and if we want to understand time, then we have to see the how much distance we have covered in that time. So he is talking in very different sense. But here in Jainism is saying, it is being said that one aspect is relative to other. And for example, father is playing his role. So we can understand father, the term father, in the sense of his kids or his children. So father term in itself is including other aspects of reality. Until and unless we understand his kids or children, we cannot understand the concept of father in itself. So they all are relative terms. Without considering other aspects or other realities or other parts of realities, we cannot understand the particular part even. So relativity is said in this particular way, in sense. This relativity is also expressed in the sentence, as many viewpoints exist in as many ways of thought. The basis of this argument is its mode. Modes are innumerable, hence viewpoints too are innumerable. Only does the combination of innumerable parts enable us to realize the substance in totality. So we know that these different opinions or viewpoints arise because the reality is having that much aspects in itself. So until and unless we focus on all different aspects, we cannot understand the reality as such in itself. Both points of views are relative. Nowhere I have covered this one, no? Yes. Now, Nai is also classified as Nishchay Nai and Vyavahar Nai. So there are several divisions of Nai from different angles. So far as the substance or reality or metaphysical truths are concerned, They are perceived from two angles, which we have discussed already, in the sense of dravyarthik and paryayarthik nai, means the substantial point of view and the modal point of view. But so far as the spiritual matters are concerned, mainly the two other views are used to explain the reality, and that is Nishchay Nai and Vyavhar Nai. Sometimes the Nishchay Nai is also taken in the sense that when we are talking about the reality in its pure form, then we should apply this particular standpoint. And when we are talking about the reality in the context of other elements, then we should understand it through the Vyavharanai, that is a practical view or relative view. So sometimes it is translated, Nishchay is translated as transcendental view, and the Vyavharana is practical view. Here it is said relative view, but relative, all different nayas are relative, whether it is Nishchay, whether it is Vyavharana. So the proper translation should be of Vyavharana is the practical view. So it cognizes the particular attribute distinguishing the object, and the Nishchay is cognizes the real nature of the object, or you can say the oneness of the object. It is not separating the substance from its attributes, while Vyavharana is distinguishing attributes from substance and trying to understand substance from substantial point of view, or you can say modes from modal point of view. Both nayas must be used to have complete understanding. Example, to understand soul from the two points of view. So they must have complete understanding. If they correlate with each other, then they can have complete understanding in themselves. If they are separate and exclusive, then they cannot explain reality as such, and they cannot also even explain the particular aspect of reality as such. So for example, here it is given that soul is soul, but it can be perceived from different angles. Those people who are understanding that each reality is transitory, then they are perceiving soul as transitory substance. And those who are perceiving that each reality is permanent in itself, then they are perceiving soul as permanent or invariable, or you can say unchangeable reality. But according to Jainism, the soul is having both the qualities. It is having permanence and as well as impermanence. It is from substantial point of view, the soul is permanent. It is eternal. It is indestructible. So we can see it from that angle also. But it is also changing with time. It is taking different births. Different in different times it has different types of qualities, or there are different modes. So from that point of view, we can say that the soul is non-eternal, it is transitory, it is changeable. So these two views are, if they correlate, then they can explain the reality in a proper way, but being exclusive, they cannot approach the reality, even they cannot say anything proper about the particular aspect. Naivad is warning to philosophers: no system is absolute and comprehensive. It calls for recognition of conflicting viewpoints for harmony in the society. So the main message or main teachings of Naivad is that no system is absolute and comprehensive in itself. So we should not go into any conflict because of different opinions, but try to understand each other and try to see the things from different other angles or perspectives. The next very important corollary of Anekantvad is Shadvad. Shad means relative or in particular context, or Vad means statement or prediction, you can say. So when we are talking about any reality, whether we are talking about the total reality, whether we are taking one aspect of reality, we should always talk in the sense of relativity. It means we should talk the particular aspect in the light of the total reality or in the light of other aspects of reality. And in the same way, if we are talking about the substance, then we should understand this substance in the light of other its different parts or qualities and modes. So we are always talking in relative sense and not in absolute sense. If we are making any kind of absolute statement, we are not doing justice with the object or with its any attribute. So we have seen that the structure of a reality consists of both unity and diversity at the same time. On the other hand, human capacity for comprehension is so limited that it cannot know a thing in its totality. Shadwad emphasizes, therefore, the fact that no predict affirmed of a real is able to yield the whole truth about it. It gives us only a partial view of the real. Shadwad effects a division or analysis of reality, and the Nai enlightens the particularity of the divided elements. So Shadwad, sometimes it is said that Shadwad is talking about the total reality in the sense of relativity, and the Naivad is taking just one single part of reality at a time, and talking about one aspect of reality at a time in a relative sense. So in this way we can differentiate between the Shadwad and Naivad. Though those statements which are made in relative sense, they may be in the context of particular aspect, or they may be in the context of total object. So when it is done in the context of the total object, then we can understand that this is a Shadwad which is dealing with the total reality. And if it is being said in the sense of a particular aspect, then we should understand that it is being said from the point of view of Nai. Conditional dialects, though Shadwad is known as the theory of conditional dialects, whenever we are talking with some conditions or in reference to something or in some particular context, and we are not making any such statement which is without any context or which is completely absolute. That is not the main point we have to understand. So the logical system of exposition of the object of valid cognition possessed of infinite number of attributes by taking cognizance of a single attribute and without discarding the rest of others. So here the same thing I have already said, that whenever we are understanding anything through these different principles, whether it is Anekantvad or Shadwad or Naivad, though we are talking about particular aspect, but we are not talking in absolute sense or in exclusive sense, but we are talking that particular object in the light of the total reality or in the light of all different other aspects. Saptabhangi is another principle, though it is considered under the Shadwad. Whenever we are making any statements, we can make statements from in 7 ways regarding the same object or same aspect. So Shadwad is the method of exposition of the object, and Saptabhangi is its expression. Whenever we are talking about anything, we are talking in the sense of Shadwad or in the language of Shadwad, but we can make 7 such statements to come with same conclusion regarding the one and the same object or one and the same aspect. An object is cognized with respect to itself and with respect to others. Saptabhangi is based on the recognition that the number of statements one can make about an object is limited, depending on the possibilities of positive and negative attribution, as well as the possibility that the nature of the object might be inexpressible combining these then can lead to there being only 7 possible statements. So it is said that whenever we are trying to understand any object, we are trying to understand it in the light of those what we say objects which are connected to it, or sometimes absent in particular object, or we are talking about some aspects, then also we are perceiving that aspect when it is present and when it is not present. So when we look at the object from, there are always 2 aspects of each reality. One is negative and the other one is positive. So it is positive in the sense that it is existing in the particular form, but it is not existing in all other different forms. So to deny that it is not existing in other different forms, then we are using the negative statements. So until and unless we understand any reality or any aspect from these 2 ways, positive and negative, we cannot understand that reality as such. So and looking at these 2 aspects, positive and negative, together, if we try to understand or express the reality, keeping all these and both these aspects of reality together in one statement, then we are unable to express that reality, and we are using just inexplicable term for such kind of reality. Whenever we are talking about reality from one angle, positive or negative, then we can make some statement about that reality. But if we are talking about both the aspects together, then we have no words for that. So that's why there is another term which is known as inexpressible, that is called avaktabhya. So keeping all these 3 ways of expression, if we come out of our statements regarding one object or one aspect, then there can be only the 7 statements and not more than 7. So this is the example is given in this particular slide. For example, something is existing, and we say that the soul is existing. So in what sense we want to say it? We say that the soul is existing from its particular quality, which is consciousness. So then we can make a positive statement that the soul is existing because it has consciousness, and that's why it is a soul. But we in another time we can say that it does not exist. It does not mean that the soul is not existing. Soul is existing, but soul is not existing in any other form of substance which are devoid of consciousness. So to make clear the concept of soul, we can make both the statements, positive and negative. Positive in the sense that we are talking about soul from the point of view of its consciousness, and when we are talking about the non-soul, it means the soul is not existing. It means we are saying that soul is not existing in other form of substances which are devoid of consciousness. And by these 2 statements we can be very clear that soul is having only consciousness, or in fact other qualities we are not talking about them, but other substances are not having such kind of qualities. So now we have become very much clear that it is only the soul which is having consciousness and no other elements in the universe. And when we try to understand both these 2 aspects together, positive and negative one, then we have no particular term for that. So we say that it cannot be expressed so far as the total nature or totality of the soul is concerned. But if we want to make both the statements positive and negative one after another, then the third option applies to it, that yes, the soul exists and also does not exist. It exists in some respect and it does not exist in some other respect. And by combination of the 3, positive, negative, and inexplicable, we can come out of other three statements or predictions, which are known as fifth, sixth, and seventh, in which we say that the soul is existing because of its consciousness, and but so far as the negative aspect is concerned, we cannot express these two aspects together, so it is also inexpressible. And if we are talking about the negative aspects, and if we try to understand it at the same time from both the angles, positive one also, then we say that the object of the soul is inexpressible. Similarly, in the seventh statement, we can make a statement positive and negative one after another, but if we try to consider both aspects together, then it is inexpressible. So here the symbols are given as plus for positive, minus for negative, and O for inexplicable. So in this way we can make 7 statements about one and the same object to come with same conclusion in positive or negative ways. These combinations of expressions are illustrated here with the example of a cup, so it is not required, just through soul we have understood. And now there is one concept which is known as Praman, especially in logic. So Praman means when we are trying to understand the reality with its whole thought, in its entirety, then we need such kind of a authentic or comprehensive approach of knowledge, and that comprehensive approach of knowledge is called Praman in logic. It is known as valid organ of knowledge. So Praman is especially considered when we are trying to understand an object in its totality, and when we are trying to understand any reality from particular angle or from particular aspect, then it is called Nai. So there are 2 approaches. One approach which considers the object in its totality, and one approach, the partial approach, which is known as Nai, is considering only the one aspect at a time of the reality, and not rejecting other aspects of reality. So these are 2 ways to understand the reality. One is inclusive and the other one is exclusive. Exclusive doesn't mean non-relative, it is at the same time relative approach, and it is known as Nai. So the Praman and the Nai types of knowledge are mutually distinguished for their total and partial approaches to a real. A Praman takes the whole of a real as its subject matter. Total comprehension of reality is the knowledge of the Praman type. This may appear to lead to the impossibility of the Praman type of knowledge. Our experience testifies to the fact that we are never able to comprehend the totality of reality. So it is said that it is impossible to take the total reality into consideration. We can just see one aspect, 2 aspects, 3 aspects, but it is difficult to take all the different aspects of reality at a time. Yes, it can be what we say beyond the approach of the common people, but so far as the Kevali or the omniscient is concerned, they can see the total reality. So Praman is not just a concept to understand, but it is also a true approach to understand the reality. Especially the omniscient can understand or see all the aspects together, and also in the light of the substance. So it is not that it is just imaginary or ideal concept, but it is also practical in the case of the omniscient. Thus, perfect knowledge, which is known as the Keval Gyan, alone can be designated as the Praman type of knowledge, and in the lower stages of existence, a Praman cannot be experienced. But in the Jain works, along with the Keval Gyan knowledge, There are certain other knowledges which is known as sensuous knowledge, scriptural knowledge, clairvoyance, and telepathy. They have also been enumerated as yielding Praman type of knowledge, though they never apprehend reality as a whole. So yes, these knowledges are also considered Praman in themselves, because they can also understand a reality as a whole, but their approach is somehow very limited to reality. And that's why we can say that it is only the omniscience which is the most authentic and comprehensive knowledge or inclusive approach to understand the reality as such. Praman is mainly of two types: direct perception or perceptual cognition, you can say. This is of two types: sensation, sensual perception made through senses directly or through instruments, and non-sensuous sensual perception. This is of three types: perception through clairvoyance, perception through telepathy, and direct perception or by soul, or perception of omniscient. So now we can see that in common man's knowledge, sometimes we say that we have seen the total object, we have done the study of all different aspects of reality. So how it cannot be considered as the knowledge of the total object? So that's why the other knowledges have also been considered as the authentic or valid source of knowledge. It means they can also understand the reality in its totality, but still we can say that the sensuous knowledge, whether it is Mati Gyan or you can say Shruta Gyan, they have their own limitations. They can see the reality in direct way and not directly. So far as the clairvoyance and telepathy are concerned, they can only see the material objects and with many other limitations. So they can see the reality in totality, but still they have some limitations. So they can be considered as the authentic source of knowledge or valid source of knowledge or inclusive approach to understand the reality. Instead of that, we should see that it is only the Keval Gyan which has inclusive approach in true sense. And perception, now we have seen that sometimes we perceive through senses and we consider that we have seen this and that object in its totality. So that kind of a perception is considered as sensuous perception, and non-sensual perception are telepathy and clairvoyance and omniscience. So these knowledges are also considered as Praman and authentic knowledge, and that's why we have so many scriptures. All the scriptures have not been spoken by Lord Mahavir or by the omniscient, but those scriptures who have been spoken by Chaturdash Purvadhar or mind reading knowledge person, they are also considered as the authentic source of knowledge, or you can say Praman in themselves. It is because that they have also capacity to see, understand reality in a very wider sense or in a very inclusive sense. And there are certain knowledges which are indirect, and indirect knowledge we find inductive reasoning or logic or inference. Existence or absence of a thing is decided on the basis of existence or absence of another thing. Causality, many of the scientific observations which are effects of a phenomena fall in this category. So sometimes the object is not direct to our senses. We can see one of the connected aspect of reality and can infer that this kind of object should be there. For example, if we are perceiving smoke rising up in the towards the sky from somewhere, but we are not able to see the fire directly from distance, then we can easily infer that there is fire, because the smoke is inevitable aspect of fire. So it is always connected with the fire. If smoke is there, then fire should also be there. Similarly, if we are perceiving plant, but we are not perceiving the seed, so plant cannot come out without seed. So obviously, when we perceive plant, we can easily infer that there should be some seed of this particular tree or plant. So in this way, this is known as cause and effect theory in the field of science, and there are certain scientific explorations or observations are done on the basis of these inference, and it is also considered a valid organ of knowledge, and it is a valid approach to know the reality which is not hidden, which is hidden and which is not directly given to our senses. Analogy or comparison is another valid organ of knowledge, and through this also we can understand reality. For example, we might have not seen Nilgai, which is a kind of wild cow, and it always lives in forest and not in our houses. So if somebody wants to understand Nilgai, then the teacher can make him understand that Nilgai with the analogy of the simple guy, common guy, or cow, you can say. So this is called upaman. So there are certain realities which are not in front of us, or which are not directly given to us, but through some example, through some similes or analogy or comparison, we can understand those realities too. Scriptures, written records of the teachings of the omniscient, they are also considered the valid organ of knowledge, and this is the reason why we are considering that there is a liberation, there is the karma, there is the fruition of karmas, or heaven and hells, though they are not visible to us, and we cannot prove them by any means or by any scientific explorations. Instead of that, we are considering that they are existing on the basis of the scriptures, because the words spoken by omniscients or such kind of experts are also the valid source of our knowledge. So these are different valid sources of knowledge which have been considered in logic, especially to understand, to know the reality as such. So with this, I would like to complete my lecture of today. I think that the time is up. I have taken more time, and there is no space for the question answer, but still, if somebody wants to ask anything or understand anything, they can raise any question. And if you want to share your own experience or knowledge about all these things, then also you are welcome. So anyway, if anything is not clear, yes.
Dr. Vijay Singh wanted to ask, but he's muted.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Samani ji. Every time I hear these types of lectures from you, I am amazed, or I really shouldn't be amazed. The depth of knowledge in Jainism is just amazing, incredible, and we need great scholars like you to break it down for us. Otherwise, we just cannot comprehend it easily at all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your appreciation. Yes, yeah, these things have to be discussed again and again. Then only we can be very clear about this. And instead of discussing so many times, it never remains all the times in our mind. We need again refresh knowledge about those things. Any other question? Okay, so I think there is no other question. Things are clear. So in today's talk, we have covered Anekantvad, Shadvad, Nayavad, Saptabhangi, and Praman, different types of Pramans. So all these are different sources of knowledge or approaches of knowledge. And we have seen that how Jainism is a very scientific and also having very correct approach to understand the reality. It always makes relative statements and not absolute. So there are certain realities which are having absolute existence. So existence can be absolute, but to understand, we always need some relative approach. So now I'm leaving. I think no
Thank you,
question.
Samiji. Vandami Namansami Samiji.